This is 277, it'll kill you. This is the most critical part of what we do. Perfect seam right there. Hey everybody, today we're at a small TI project where we are going to be installing some brand new can lights. These are commercial LED can lights, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna take out the old fluorescent 2x4 fixtures and we're gonna replace them with these really nice fixtures that we got here. So these fixtures and this video is sponsored by Valria. This is a phenomenal company. I've been using these guys since I started Landers Electric. I know there's a lot of sponsored videos out there. I have the opportunity to actually talk about a company that I know the owner. They are an absolutely phenomenal company. These specific can lights that we're gonna be installing are the CDLAs. These are the 6-inch can lights. They have adjustable wattage on them, and they also have adjustable color temperature. These ones are 0 to 10 volt dimming, so they can be used with basically any type of lighting controls that you wanna use. So you guys ready? Let's jump right in. So the very first thing that we want to do before we touch anything is we want to make sure that we know what circuit we're working with. This is the most critical part of what we're doing. You have got to use proper lockout tagout procedures. In here we got 277 volt lighting. Even if it was 120 volt lighting, it doesn't matter. We need to follow proper lockout tagout procedures so that nobody gets hurt. So what we're going to do now is this junction box right here, you can see these are the switches that control our lights. So this junction box right here should be labeled. I say should be labeled. We all know that we go into old buildings and nothing's labeled. So if we need to use a toner to figure out what circuit this is, that's what we're gonna do. Yeah, so I got circuits 39 and circuits 41. It's not labeled as to what panel it is, but thankfully I already know what panel it is. When we open up the lights here, 4 lights per box. You can order as many as you need or as little as you need. They'll ship them out really easy. They give you a nice little template to cut out. I have a hole saw that we're gonna use, so I'm not really gonna need this, but we can use this to make sure that we have the right size hole saw. So you can see here, we got our color temperature selection. We got 3000K, 3500, and 4000K. Then we have our wattage selection on this side. You can select 7 watts, 10 watts, or 18 watts. This right here just clips into a 4 square box or any type of box that you want to install. Right here, we see our hot, neutral, ground, and we got our 0 to 10 right here. You can see how high quality these lights are right here. It's got a really nice gasket on it here, and these clamps are really strong clamps. When it goes to grab the ceiling tile, it really grabs it. You have got to be installing good products for your customers. There's nothing worse than installing lights, you walk away, and then getting a call from the customer saying, 2 of my lights don't work. And then you go out there, you have to replace them. That's all money that you have to spend, and it makes you just, as a contractor, it just makes you look bad. So you got to make sure that you're installing quality products. So with every can light, Valria sends out the T-Grid ceiling plates. What this is here is it's a plate that goes across on your 2-foot side on the T-Grid. It sets in there. You can screw these in and screw these in. What you do is you cut out whatever circle you need for whatever size can light you're using. So for 6-inch, we cut out this section right here. Cut these out, just like this. This plate goes on top of the ceiling tile, screws in right here, and then the can light goes up through and clamps onto here so that the weight of the can light is dispersed between the T-Grid. All right, so before we cut the power and lock out, tag out, I want to get all the ceiling tiles cut so that we can work with the lights still on. We like to use this hole saw right here for can lights. It's the perfect size, so you just always want to check your template, whatever comes with the can lights, and just make sure it's the right size. And this one is perfect. It's just a hair bigger, but that's exactly how I want it, so it's not so tight in there. We open up our ceiling tiles, and I like to cut 2 of them at a time. Some people try and go like 5 tiles deep. It's pretty tough to do that and actually get a really good cut on it, so I like to do 2. Right out of the box, sometimes the tiles are damaged. Open them up first, make sure that there's no damage to them. If there's damage, then you're gonna have to replace that tile right away. So we just take them, set them up right here on our little table that we made. And then we're gonna measure 4 feet short a quarter. So split in half as an 1/8. So we're looking at 23 7/8. And then I always go to the other side and double check it to make sure that that's right. And then this side, again, we're short a quarter. So 11 7/8. And then double check it, 11 7/8. All right, so the next step is you wanna make sure that you're exactly lined up on all 4 corners before you start making your cut. Double, triple check it, make sure that it's perfect. So once you have that, you gotta go nice and slow with the drill. Otherwise, it'll just start jumping all over the place. Just let it do its thing. Grab it with your hand over here so it doesn't spin. Nice and easy. Got the first one. And do the second one. A perfect cut every time. So again, when you go to cut, you just want to get it right on your crosshair. Go nice and slow to start, and then speed it up. Nice clean cut. So the next step is to get all the lights out of here. So we need to follow proper lockout tagout procedures like I was saying. All right, so we got our lockout tagout kit here. And what we need to do is we just need to open this up, get our locks. Again, this is the most critical part of what we do. You cannot skip this step. You never know if you turn a breaker off. I've seen it where guys just put tape over the breakers. Well, that doesn't stop anybody from doing anything. So we got circuits 39 and 41 right here. So we're gonna kill them. And then we're gonna put our two locks on here. If you don't have a lockout tagout kit, you gotta get one of these. All right, so what you wanna do with these, you just wanna back off the screw and then get it over the breaker and it locks right down. And then this red part bottoms out here on the edge of the dead front so that it can't slide backwards. Get it nice and tight on there. And we'll do the same thing to the second one. So loosen the screw, get it on here. Make sure that's bottomed out to the right that way. And there we go. We have this clasp here so that we can lock out multiple breakers at the same time. It just goes down in and through them, just like that. And then this goes in, slide it up. Then we can take our lock with our tag and lock it off like this. You have got to have a tag on here. You can't just put the lock. You have to have a tag with your name, your number, and the date. So on there, we're gonna change that to the date today. So now we're safe. And then let's say you have multiple people working on the same circuit. Everybody's gonna put their lock on here that's working on that circuit and hold on to their own keys. That keeps everybody safe so that not just one person can come over, take it off before they know that the circuit is ready to be energized again. Once you have done lockout, tagout, and live dead live testing to make sure that the circuit's off, then we can get started. So we're gonna start ripping these lights out. What I wanted to show you here is, I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is what's called relock. So this entire building is set up with relock. I absolutely hate it. It's a plug and play system that they used to use a long time ago. I haven't seen it in a long time. Basically what it is you bring your circuits in from the panel to your main junction boxes, and then you wire up this quick connect here, and then you're able to just plug in every single room, and it wires down to the switch as well. This whip right here, all we have to do here is we're gonna leave this plugged in, and then we're gonna cut the end off that goes to the first light. We're gonna land that in a junction box, and that's where our power pack's gonna go. So it actually works out real nice. We don't even have to get inside this junction box. You can completely disconnect this and then hardwire into there, but there's other circuits in this junction box that I don't want to have to shut off because people are using those offices. So we can just use this quick connect right here as our means of connection to the circuit in this room. So if you can see here, the quick connect goes from there, comes over, loops up and over, and lands right inside that first light fixture there. And then you're just able to go plug and play all the way, boom, 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 hit all your lights in the whole room. It's a system that they used a long time ago that I haven't seen in a long time. So I know that this circuit is off, but just to be safe, we're gonna disconnect this quick connect here because I don't wanna mess around with it. So basically, like I said, I wanna reuse this. So what I'm gonna do here, we're gonna just cut this end off right here. Man, that's tough. When you go to take these out, you just pop them up, twist them, come down through, you're good to go. It's about to fall, dude. Can't tell you how many guys don't even tie off their lights with the ceiling wire. Slap it in as you're going. I still like to check a bunch of times as I'm working before I cut the wires, just to make sure that it's dead. This is 277, it'll kill you. So once you get all the lights out, the next step is you want to pay attention to the electrical drawings. Make sure you put the tiles in where they're supposed to go. I've had it before where you put them in the wrong tile, wire them up, then you got to move them. So to do these, you just slide it up at an angle, pop it up, turn that corner in, make sure that side is all the way that way, and it should just pop right into place, just like that. So then we're going to go through and we'll get all these in, and then we can start doing our makeup so that we can double check that our layout according to the T-grid is exactly where they need to be. Another thing, you don't want to put your hands all over the ceiling tiles. That's why if you notice, I'm keeping my hands in the center or on the ends, because you put fingerprints on it from your dirty gloves. Only touch the center of it. Get it to pop in just like that. Pull it from the center, get it up here. That side lands, just like that. So as I was saying earlier, this is the plate that they send with the can lights. You gotta order this separate, it's a separate part number, but all we do here, like I was saying, is we just clip whatever size can light we have. You just clip it right there, and that falls out. Then we take this right here, and you wanna just line it up perfect with your hole. You just take some self-tapping screws, we just send it through, lock it down. Super simple. We'll do that on both sides. Make sure that we're nice and lined up. So then we just take the can light like this, take it, get all this right there, fold up your clamps, and then it's just gonna go up, just like that. Perfect seam right there. I absolutely hate the can lights that don't suck up there, but these have such good clips on the back side. They're amazing. All right, so then on the top, once you have it in, you make sure it's perfectly centered in here. So the next thing we need to do is tie off the light. So I like to take the light wire. If you don't have any, you need to shoot some from up top, because every can light needs to have a light wire protecting it in the event of an earthquake or some other issue that happens. So here's an area where I see a lot of guys making mistakes. So you want to get this really tight down there, and then you need to have at least 3 turns within an inch, right? So if you fold it down like that and then fold it up, make yourself a handle. I like to cut these shorter so I can work with it. And then nice and tight. None of this super loose all the way up. It's got to be 3 in an inch. Just like that. Get it really tight. You're good to go. So if you can see right there really close, at least 3 wraps within an inch. And then this is secured. They give us this safety clip, so once I have the light tied off, just clip it on and you're good to go. So the next thing you want to do is you want to mount your junction box. But before I mount it, I want to knock out what I need so that I'm not messing up the T-grid as I'm trying to beat the knockouts out. So pay attention to if you have 1 or 2 whips coming in or what you need. So here we're going to do a double hit, and I want to have this light wire here so that I can bat wing and support the wires according to the code. So also so that we can pass inspection, right? So I'm going to take this box, I want it this way. So I'm going to knock 1, 2 out. 1, it's going to be a double connector for the power coming in and out, and then 1 for the 0 to 10 volt wires. I also need a 3rd one so that the whip from the fixture itself can go in the junction box. So once I have those knocked out, then you just take this. You want to make sure you use the short tech screw so it doesn't go through the tile, obviously. And then just give yourself, just like that. 1, 2, I like to give it 3. There you go. And I always make sure that we have our ground tails in before so that we're not messing up the box as well. So now we're set. We're going to run through, wire everything, get it all supported, and then we'll be able to make up all the junction boxes. Before I leave this, you need to get yourself in a system so you don't forget certain steps, right? So as you're installing commercial LED lights, whether it's 2x4 LED flat panels or whatever it is, make sure that you get into a system. So here, it's really easy to forget to set these. So I want these at full wattage. So I'm going up to 18, and then I want them at 35K. I don't like 3,000 and I don't like 4,000. So most of the buildings that we do, it's 35K. Sometimes if it's like a bio lab or something, they'll want it at 4,000 or even 5,000 in some of the labs. But for here, 35K is going to be where we want to be. All right, so I went ahead and turned the box around. For one, I like how this whip curves like this, and 2, you guys can see me better. So what we do here is you can see we got one of the whips ran. This is end of line, so it's only going to be 1 hit on this one. So what I like to do, get it bat winged up. So if you can see here, this is a bat wing. This is what we use to strap the MC to the light wire. You're not supposed to bat wing to T-grid wires. You have to use your own light wire to batwing to. And then as far as what the National Electric Code says for strapping, normally when we go out of a junction box, you gotta strap it within 12 inches. But up here in an accessible ceiling, you can actually go 6 feet from the last point of cable connection to your light fixture. We still though don't want any MC or anything sitting on top of the grid. So here, I'm gonna make sure that that doesn't happen. We got a nice loop here, and then I'm gonna line this up. So this is where I want it. So I wanna show you guys, you can use a roto split to do this. I like to use my dikes, it's pretty quick. So you just take your dikes right here on an angle, push and clip. And then you take it and you pull it off, just like that. It's really simple. And then we need to put our red head on here, and then we can slide our connector on. So this right here is a red head. We use the red head and we slide it up in there to protect the wire so that it doesn't catch an edge right there and short out. So you just take it like this, open it up. This one's a little bit too big. So what you can do here is you can just put your finger on the end and spin it backwards so it kind of opens it up a little bit, and then pinch this closed and slide it up in there. So you can see then it's protected all the way around the edge there. And I like to take the plastic off. We'll clip it real quick, just like that. And then a quick tip with the MC connectors. So these things can go on really tight, and if you look inside there, it's got really sharp edges in there. We don't want those sharp edges to catch the wire as we're sliding it up. So I take needle nose and I just go like this, open them up wider. Then you can see it kind of open it up. It's still tight enough to grab it, but not so much that it's gonna cut the wire open, as you can see, and then just pop it on and you're good to go. And we slide the wire in here, get that up and snap it in. And then with our 0 to 10, same thing. I already cut it to length. I put just a plastic bushing in the box there, if you can see. Right here, there's a plastic bushing in there. We're just gonna take this, slide it through, just like that. And then I wanna put one last zip tie right here to hold it in place so it doesn't come out of the box backwards. We just take it like this, and there you go. And we take this, clip it off. Now, when we do the 0 to 10, I see a whole bunch of guys. They'll go like this, score it, pull it off, and they cut into the wire right there. And then they say it's good. So what I do here is I do score it like this, cut it open, but then I use the pull string, okay? And sometimes you have to clip this a little bit. Wherever the pull string is gonna come out, I'll clip this just a little bit here so that it's open. Then you take your pull string and you pull it to where you need it, right there. Pull this back, and I make sure that I cut this off right there so that that's off. And then I'm good. I'm gonna pull this a little bit more, just like that. Then we just cut this off here. Make sure not to cut the wire. Then we open this up. These wires are for the 0 to 10 volt dimming. So I just use standard. This is actually a little bit more expensive than I normally would buy. It's shielded. It doesn't have to be shielded for 0 to 10, but I had some in my garage, so I was like, I might as well use it. So we cut all this off too, because all we need is the two wires, the black and the red here. And you'll see when we wire up the power pack how this works, but basically the 0 to 10, the black and red here, are gonna go with the purple and the pink. So what I like to do as far as picking the colors is pick the closest shade to whatever color is coming off the light fixture. So here, red would go with pink and black would go with purple. One thing I forgot to mention is if you're working in a hard lid, they have a different plate for that. They have a flat plate that doesn't have a lip on it here. It just screws straight across the studs, and then you can put your can light up in there after you're done. You just leave the whips out hanging through this circle right here, and then you make up your light and you send it up through. Another thing I see a lot of here, if you can see right out of the factory, there's a little bit already stripped. What I see is people will just use that little tiny bit that's right there, and they'll use a wire nut right on that. That's not enough, in my opinion, to grab and make sure you have a good connection. So I always go through and I strip a good amount off the tips so that we know that we're gonna have a good connection. Just strip it off. And then another thing, when you're making this up, you can see these are all frayed. I like to come with my fingers, make sure I don't have any fraying off to the side, and then I'll twist them together so that you wind up the braid there so that when we go to make our connection, we don't end up with hairs that are sticking out the back of the wire nut and cause it to short out. These ones too, I'll take it and I'll spin it a little bit to make sure that that copper right there is spun. These 0 to 10 ones, these are okay being this short because we're using a tiny baby wire nut, or maybe even the baby blues here. So that's okay for those ones. It's just when I'm making connection from a 16 gauge over to a 12 gauge, I want more copper or more connection showing there so that it makes a really good connection with the wire nuts. So I'm gonna wire this up real quick. So we got it all made up. The last thing we wanna do is we wanna label what panel, this is panel C, what circuit, 39, and what the voltage is, 277 volt. If this had 2 circuits going through it, we'd want to label this 277/480. Or if there was multiple circuits in here, we'd want to do like 3941, but this only has 1 circuit in it. So once you got it labeled, you just want to put it on and close it up. And then we'll run around, we'll do all the rest of them. All right, so we got the lights installed. They look phenomenal. We got the 0 to 10 wires all tied in. The lights dim down. They're super smooth as they dim. They go back up. Really smooth. I hate those lights that are all choppy when you're dimming them down or up. All right, so I want to show you guys the different wattage settings and the different color temperatures. So right now we have it at 18 watts. So here's 10 watts. There's 7 watts. 18 watts. And then if we go to 3000 Kelvin, 3500, and 4000. So it's really nice that you can change the wattage and the color temperature if you want, depending on what you're trying to match. Well, that's it. As I said, Valria is an absolutely phenomenal company. So if you'd like to pick up their commercial LED can lights or any other commercial lights that you need, the link's down in the description. And as always, if you'd like to learn more about electrical installations, feel free to check out the videos right here or the one video right here. Thanks so much. We'll see you on the next one.